Chapter 10 is going to look at public funds and non-public schools as normal. I'll give you the key terms, blah, 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 that go along with that. But one of the things that I need to note that I think is important is, if you took school finance at the principal level, you probably used Money in Schools as your book. I know we used it here. It is the most important textbook that exists for school finance, for introductory principal school finance. It's Money in Schools. For those of you that had it at a different university, did you use what book? Do you guys remember what book you used? Did you use Money in Schools?
I do not remember.
Yeah.
I feel like 14, 15 years.
So Money in Schools has been the book for about 25 years. This is something that it's the only chapter that looks at public funds going to non-public schools in any of the textbooks that I've looked at. So I think it's important, and I think you should at least know where the money goes and where the money goes and what that means. So why should you favor non-public schools? Why is it good for there to be charter schools? Well, obviously, remember, our book is going to support charter schools, so you have to understand that perspective. Our book says that we should have the First Amendment, we should have choice, we should have due process. There's no evidence that says by not supporting charter schools, it hurts public schools, and that, if they fail, it's a bad thing. So the book is all in favor of us doing charter schools. The book also notes that private schools discriminate without discriminating, because if you're having tuition-based discrimination, it's only going to be the rich and the wealthy and the powerful that are going to go to those school districts. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in our public schools, all the rich people live in an area called Squirrel Hill. It's the only place that they can afford to live. So all the rich kids go to Squirrel Hill, and they segregate based on community, so it's de facto segregation without actually being segregation. We argue that parochial aid is a bad thing, and if you remember this from when we had this in org theory, parochial aid in schools, the reason why churches got involved in the school system was they wanted people to read the Bible. I mean, that was the point of a parochial school. They would basically say, we're going to take all the poor kids, and if the poor kids become smart, maybe not smart, but if they become rich and they make money and they get a job, what are they going to credit it to? The fact that they were able to read the Bible. So that's a backward step because we've altered that concept. So that's one of the reasons why they suggest not to. But this is what you need to know. This is important. 11% of the public is enrolled in this. That is a big idea, 1 out of every 10 students. But it is more common in the Northeast than it is here. And it's always going to be more common in the Northeast. I would venture the number in Rhode Island and Connecticut is close to 40 to 50% in private schools. Same in New York, same in Florida. This is what it is so far. I don't know what it's going to be or continue to be in the next 10 to 15 years. I know that a lot of principals that go to charter schools do it as a career trajectory. Every principal that I know that's a principal at a charter school, and I'm telling you this based on the people that I know from back home, they were doing it to be a college professor. That was their goal. They said, I'm going to be a charter school principal for 2 or 3 years so I can be an effective college professor. Why?
Get to know all the rich people that are in the spots to hire.
Yep. Yep. You know the wealthy and powerful people. And that's their reasoning. Was it a smart move?
Sure.
It's functional. It's a functionalist perspective. It's why, it's why everything I do, I try to relate back to org theory, but it's taking it from that functionalist perspective. So, we separated church and state, but we also noted that in early school funding, churches pushed religion on students. That's not bad. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is what it is. It's better to get some sort of education than no education at all. I mean, can you imagine if only rich white landowners' children were the ones that were getting an education? Good that the church stepped in and gave education to all and offered that and made it happen. But did they do it the right way? Did they do it because they were doing it for the correct reasons or the wrong reasons? Well, who knows? I look at everything from a business perspective. Churches were businesses. They were making money. They were making investments. They were investing to build a congregation. It's why the church reform really occurred significantly in the United States between 1880 and 1920 because they were businesses. They wanted people to go. Everybody could go in. They could give schooling for anybody, but students had to learn religion. Organizational theory. This is a genius, genius, genius move. If you want somebody to be hooked on a product, you give it to them for free. That's what you do. Nobody's drinking it right now. Kira has her Full Throttle and John has his NOS, but Mountain Dew's Kickstart. What did Mountain Dew do with Kickstart? Did anybody see what they did for 6 months? What did they do? Just stood outside of places and gave you free cans of it. Like everywhere.
Rivers.
The casinos back in Pittsburgh. They just had bins of it. They had like thousands of cans. And they said, here, take 1, take 2, take 3, take 4. They said, here, take it. We're going to get you hooked on the product. Gas stations did that all the time because they wanted to compete with Red Bull. They wanted to compete with Full Throttle. So they just give you the product for free. And then they charge you more money for the product. So
Not yet.
Not yet. They're still,
There's still like less than, I think, $1.59, $1.69, so it's the cheapest one out there.
For now. But I would argue the fact that it's attached to a brand name would be that it'll eventually go up in value. But that's what companies do. When they have a new product, they hooked it on free. And you need to look at that for churches too. Churches did the same thing with schools. It was a genius organizational theory perspective. So, you know, three different cases said child benefit theory that allows for public funds to be used for non-public schools. I only picked these 3 because these were the ones that could be on the superintendency exam. So take a look at these 3 cases. The book goes over a lot of different ones, but you'll notice that it's textbooks and busing. Those are the 2 big ideas. So you might see that on the superintendency exam, it's textbooks and busing. Once again, you know, I think, you know, in an ideal world, maybe in the fall, maybe we can do this. I know Dr. Curry and I have talked about this a lot, but it would be awesome if we could honestly sit down with all of you guys from Tulsa and Oklahoma City, and I could tell you what I thought about the elementary exam, and Dr. Curry could tell you what she thought about the secondary and superintendency exam. It would be, you know, a good way to get those perspectives because, you know, it was interesting to see what that was like and be involved in the development of it. The other court cases aren't linked to finance, so I'm only going to talk about the ones that have to do with finance. They're more child benefits. So these 3 are the ones that actually relate to school finance. So there are 7 areas of educational choice, and we're going to look at these in terms of finance. This is something that I will definitely have on the quizzes. So we're going to look at all 7 of these areas, what they are. I would know what areas of concern they are. So open enrollment says everybody can pick and decide where they want to send their kids to. You just can pick, and kids go there. In open enrollment, what's the only rule? If the state is doing open enrollment, what's the only rule?
You gotta go.
What?
You gotta go.
No. No, you can pick any district you want to go to. But the district does not have to provide you with if you live outside of the boundaries. But in open enrollment, it's open enrollment. This is extremely uncommon. Extremely uncommon. Because of the costs. What would everybody do under this system?
They'd go to one until they get ticked off, and then they go to another one.
Yeah,
They just go
there would be
down.
switching
Door to door.
from day to day, and you know but okay. So let me take that in a very good perspective, Gina. Then the federal government would step in and they would say, this is why we need standardized curriculum because people are switching between this school and this school. So, you know, once again, this all ties back to politics.
I taught in Telephone, that's what they did. They had 3, but it's a small town. They have 3 elementary schools that you can choose
Open enrollment.
within the district.
And the kids had to flip
Just
flop.
within the district. Yeah, you can choose which, you know, of course, it's kind of, I don't know, maybe first come, first serve, you know.
Okay.
You know, where I could just enroll my kid at any school, any of the elementary schools that I wanted to.
How much transition was there from building to building?
Not very much.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
Then
There
again,
wasn't-
maybe
But
3.
then, you know, it only fed into one middle school and one junior high and one high school, so it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just at the elementary level.
Okay. So yeah, so 6 buildings versus maybe 25 elementary schools.
Yeah.
Slightly different. Magnet schools are awesome. It's the best theory that there is. It's an amazing theory. In theory, magnet schools are phenomenal. Nobody can tell me that magnet school is not a great theory. It's a tremendous theory. Because in a magnet school, you have choice, and you can draw students that are interested in particular things, particular domains. It's vocational education, and it's great because it's, it gives education for all. But magnet schools don't work because magnet schools cost money. Anytime you customize a school, it costs money. Anytime you do a magnet school that's an AP magnet school or an advanced placement magnet school, and that costs money, then all the other students that are in the district that aren't as high performers, they leave the building, and then you're left with a building that's not as high performing, and parents are going to fight. In theory, magnet schools are phenomenal. So, this is my thing. This is what I want to do. I want to do this more than anything, but you have to build this and you have to foster this. But this is one of my, if I could define my research agenda and my life agenda, this would be one of my 5 things on it. I believe in the idea of dual and concurrent enrollment. I love this idea. I think that we should have secondary students going to community colleges. We should have community colleges in place in high schools. We should certify teachers to be community college teachers, meaning that they should be getting paid by Community College of Tulsa to go in and teach in in the high school, and they're getting paid by there, but they're teaching community college class. And nobody wants to do this. I mean, if you can work with a university that's housed in a district, you can save money. You can essentially keep somebody there and keep somebody in the district. There is money in this. All I look at, an educational perspective for me, I look at what I can make money and where districts can make money. Districts could make money doing this. They really could, but nobody in this state wants to do this. It blows my mind. Nobody in Stillwater is trying to do this with Stillwater Public Schools at Oklahoma State, and they're not doing it. I know how to do this. I did this. I know how to do this. So if it's something that your district, if you become a superintendent in 2 or 3 years and you want to do this, please, let's work together. I want to make this work, and I want to make this happen. My issue comes into my issue with this comes into the whole AP thing, because this is what your superintendent or what your other people will say. They'll say, well, we have AP classes. I love AP classes, but AP classes are at the mercy of whatever the college will take and accept from you. And they're all different. Some districts will only offer 3 or 4 classes. Some universities will only accept a 5 or 4 on the AP test. Oklahoma State, for undergrads, they won't accept AP English. Did you know that? Won't accept it. Why not?
I've been taught by their people.
Yeah, you need to have a college level research writing class. They will accept community college research writing, but they won't accept AP English. What do you think's harder? AP English. They won't accept it. I don't know why. I can't give you an answer for this. But for me, I'm always looking for.
It's money.
Yeah, it's money.
Yeah,
They have to take those courses.
right. I'm looking where the money's going. It benefits the long term. If you can get it to work, and it can benefit the K-12 building. They're going to promote the university. More and more people are going to go to the university. I'm worried 5 to 10 years from now we're going to look at everybody going to school online. We're going to have so many more people doing online education, and I think it's going to be a challenge and a problem. But
We have a program with TCC.
and what do you do with it?
They have, what's it called, is it Accelerate? Is that what it's called? But TCC comes in and teaches, I think they actually teach the courses in the high school.
During
Students-
regular business
during
hours or
regular
not?
hours, students take that as one of their
It's like
hours. It's
$12.
$12.75 for a class.
For a class. They
The only
provide the
difference
books.
is TCC, they provide the books, and TCC provides the instructors.
That's at Union and
And
Broken.
broken out.
But, coming from the alternative side of it, if you're an AP kid,
You have to
it's
choose.
those same qualifications. So if you're an AP kid, you gotta choose either your college credit or your AP. Additionally, if you're a marginal kid who would probably benefit from that $12.75
Yep.
credit, you don't meet the criteria to get in because we would,
I do think they offer the dual credit for language English now. Is that the one that's considered?
but you
dual
still
credit?
have to be,
Yeah, you
there's
still have to
still
meet the
high
requirements.
parameters.
I think it was
to
a
try and get in.
2.5.
The big draw though is earning that high school and college credit at the same
Same
time.
time.
Yep.
For the kids that can
Oh yeah.
get there.
Oh yeah.
For
And
that
And
kind
it's
of money,
really,
it's.
like,
And they're actually
really-
doing it on site. Ours is on.
That's
at Union
awesome.
High School.
It really has increased the ACT, taking
Well,
the
yeah,
ACTs
that would.
earlier, because now our kids, they want to take it by the time they're a sophomore,
To see if they can.
so that
qualify.
they can qualify to take the dual enrollment. Whereas before, they weren't taking ACT till their senior year. So it's made a big difference.
we all need to talk about this at some point. I wish more places were doing this. I think it's awesome. I really do. Claremore's not doing anything with this, or are they or not? No.
No. I mean, they
right.
can have concurrent enrollment at RSU, but not, they don't.
Not-
In the past, our
Yeah.
kids could go, Tulsa kids could go and take concurrent enrollment, but it was much more complicated. Now they have more choices.
And
It's
Like
on
10 or
site.
12 classes, something like
Yeah.
that.
That's awesome.
And the cost is
Amazing.
amazing. You know,
Amazing.
They can leave high school with 20-some hours of college credit.
Yeah.
And when they built UCA, didn't they build it where there's like offices and classrooms for those TCC, like lecture type classes?
Mhm.
And I would assume a lot of those kids wind up going to TCC too.
Yeah, because the Tulsa Chiefs,
Yeah.
they can go finish for.
Everybody wins. Nobody's writing anything on this? Let's write on this. Let's write something. Makes me smile, gives me something I want to write on. Charter schools, the key thing that makes something a charter school that you need to know that makes it different than all this is that Joe Schmo can open up a charter school. They can be the principal of a charter school. Emily, business owner, can open up her charter school. And she can have a mission of a charter school that says everybody's going to learn how to speak Italian. That's what we're going to do. It's going to be an Italian charter school. If people come and they meet all the requirements, that's good. Anybody ever look at paperwork to open up a charter school?
No, but I want to.
Okay. About 300 to 400 pages of paperwork.
Yes, I've heard it's grueling.
It's grueling. And the success rate is about 15%. If you succeed, you will be swimming in money. You'll be swimming in it if you succeed. But the odds of failure are pretty high. I mean, and I'm going based off of what I've seen in Pennsylvania and Ohio. But the average CEO of charter schools and successful ones making between $400,000 and $500,000 a year. So it's worth an investment. If you can find a couple people to do it, go in that have good ideas, it would be ideal.
I
Could
want
that
to
be
open
our
a charter
final
school for
project?
autism students
When you say worth
in
And-
this area.
And that would be great.
We don't have that, and it's a major, major need.
And especially with Oklahoma's waiting system.
What was your need?
Autism.
Autism.
Just a charter school for autism. But
I think that there's a
in my off
tremendous
time.
need.
You said worth an investment. If I open up a charter school, I get public money, right? I get,
Yes, you can start up public money, but you have to retain students. That's the key. You start losing the public funding, and you start losing it if students go. But if you can show a consistent growth pattern, and this is something that I finished my doctorate with a guy who opened up a charter school, and his problem was it was too successful too fast, and he wasn't prepared for it. He didn't have the space, and he lost the funding. And they actually ended up cutting the charter school. It was a K-12 charter school. He had to give up 9 through 12, and he kept it K-8, but he lost a bunch of money and he lost public funding and support because you had really angry and pissed off parents who were there 6th, 7th, and 8th grade who thought, I'm going to stay and finish because I'm having such a great experience here. So my advice, based on what I learned from him, and he was brilliant, was that have a building that's big enough to have expansion. Don't be too successful too soon. If you can actually grandfather it in and do a couple grades at a time, that's the way to do it. If you can show that it's in a district, that it's district competing with a district that it's doing better in, that's good. I mean, if you try to put your charter school in Jenks, you would never win. You have to put it in a school that's not performing well. But that's the key. Yeah. And he's a brilliant guy, and he learned this, and he basically said, I learned from my mistakes. I'm just going to go to Ohio and do the same thing again.
so you could open up a Common Core charter school and
Yes.
start out with kindergarten and do it right the whole way.
I would be 100% about that. Yeah.
John.
I'll be your assistant.
Think money, guys. I like this. I like that we're thinking money.
Retiring.
That's good.
That's a good retirement plan, I like
It is.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Better than what we're making now.
obviously for vouchers, vouchers are when parents get paid so that they can pay for a child's education. Vouchers can be tied to private schools, but the key thing you have to remember is really vouchers are a Catholic school thing. Vouchers tend to happen where private sources give money so that you can send your kids to the private school, but you as a parent have to say, I believe in the Catholic mission, I believe in the whatever religion mission this is, and I need money so that I can send my kids so they can believe in this religious mission as well. That's really where you see vouchers. So, tax credits. This is unbelievably controversial. This is when you can actually interfere with the government and say, the tax dollars that I'm paying for my per pupil expenditure, I'm pulling them, I'm yanking them, and I'm sending them to this building.